Hi again, and welcome back. My name is Lekha Sapers, and I'm the author of Rhode Island Computer Museum's Data Storage Series, a grant partnership with the Rhode Island Council for Humanities. This podcast, concurrent with a series of blog posts, is an exploration of miscellaneous data storage technologies from its most primitive era till now. To learn more, visit the Rhode Island Computer Museum website at ricomputermuseum.org. For my blog posts, visit that same website and search for data storage when prompted. But for more about me, visit lekhasapers.github.io. Again, this is Lekha Sapers, and let's get started today learning a bit about compact discs. The compact disc was the culmination of a deliberate effort to redesign how humans interacted with information. In the late 1970s, Sony and Philips, two companies deeply involved in audio technology, recognized that analog media had plateaued. Vinyl records offered richness but lacked portability and durability. Cassette tapes provided convenience but compromised fidelity. Both companies separately pursued digital optical storage before merging their research efforts, understanding that a unified standard would be critical for mass adoption. Their focus was precise: to create a medium that could offer reliable, error-corrected digital playback, readable by a consumer device that could be manufactured at scale. The collaboration led to the compact disc, and by 1980, they finalized a joint standard. They agreed on a disc diameter of 120 millimeters, large enough for comfortable handling, small enough for compact players, and on storage that would hold 74 minutes of audio. That number, though random, wasn't arbitrary. According to the engineers involved, Norio Oka of Sony, who would later become Sony's president, insisted that the CD should be able to store Beethoven's Ninth Symphony in full without interruption, using Herbert von Karajan's 1951 recording as a reference. This seemingly aesthetic decision had lasting technical impacts. It determined disk size, laser precision, data density, and more. The CD would encode audio using a sample rate of 44.1 kHz, 16-bit depth, and cross-interleaved Reed-Solomon error correction, all carefully calculated to balance sound quality, playback speed, and manufacturing cost. The first commercial compact discs arrived in Japan on October 1, 1982. The debut title was 52nd Street by Billy Joel, a choice that reflected the medium's ambitions to appear contemporary and accessible. Early adopters marveled at the clarity of digital sound, free from the hisses and pops of analog formats. More quietly, but just as importantly, the discs were nearly immune to wear from repeated plays, and the data was stored in such a way that playback was consistent regardless of how many times the disc had been used. For consumers accustomed to rewinding tapes and gingerly handling vinyl to avoid scratches, CDs felt revolutionary. Record companies quickly realized the commercial implications. CDs could be sold at a premium over vinyl and cassettes. They cost less to manufacture over time, and their durability reduced returns from damaged products. A new market was born not just for new releases, but for remastered versions of older albums, tempting consumers to repurchase the music they already owned. By the late 1980s, CDs accounted for a rapidly growing share of music sales, fundamentally reshaping the economics of the industry. Audiophiles sometimes criticized the sterile, clinical quality of early digital recordings compared to the warmth of the analog, but the mass market overwhelmingly embraced the convenience and polish. The compact disc's success in music inevitably carried over to computing. By the mid-1980s, engineers realized that the same physical medium could store not just audio but any kind of digital information. Thus, the CD-ROM was born, read-only memory, encoded onto a disc with the same basic optical methods. Offering storage capacities between 650 and 700 megabytes, CD-ROMs dwarfed floppy disks, which at the time could barely store a few megabytes at best. This opened a floodgate for multimedia software, encyclopedias with embedded videos and audio, interactive games, and elaborate educational programs that would have been unimaginable on earlier storage media. Titles like Microsoft Encarta, Myst, and the Journeyman Project became cultural phenomena not just because of their content, but because CDs made them possible. In the late 1980s and into the 1990s, recordable and rewritable discs emerged, expanding the CD's reach even further. Now individuals could create their own music compilations, archive personal files, or distribute their own digital content without needing specialized industrial equipment. The psychological shift here was subtle but important. The compact disc was no longer just a format controlled by corporations. It became a tool for personal authorship. This democratization of digital publishing, archiving, and creativity foreshadowed the user-generated content explosion that would later define the Internet era. Despite the CD's success, it was not immune to competition. By the late 1990s, DVD technology, similar in concept but offering far greater storage, began to displace CDs for high-capacity data storage. USB flash drives, portable hard drives, and eventually cloud storage chipped away at the CD's relevance. Streaming services, starting with early experiments like Napster and evolving into dominant platforms like Spotify and Netflix, ultimately changed consumer behavior so fundamentally that physical media in general began to seem cumbersome. Even so, the CD's impact remains deep. It standardized a global model for optical data storage that influenced everything from DVD and Blu-ray design to long-term digital archiving strategies. The data encoding principles, error correction protocols, and manufacturing methods developed for CDs became foundational for later digital media. Institutions like the Library of Congress and major research universities continue to use CD-based preservation standards when migrating analog archives into digital formats, precisely because of the compact disc's balance between fidelity and resilience. Today, the CD occupies an unusual cultural space. It's no longer dominant, but it isn't quite dead either. It survives in used music stores, in backup collections, in the hands of collectors and independent artists who value the tangible, album-oriented experience. For those who came of age in the 1980s and 1990s, the CD is as much an emotional object as it is a technical one, a reminder of a time when technology still felt physical and permanent. Unlike today's invisible, ephemeral streams of data, a CD could be held, read by a beam of light, and played with a tactile finality. The compact disc then was not just a new technology. It was a shift in how we conceptualized access, ownership, and permanence in the digital world. It bridged the gap between the analog certainties of the 20th century and the fluid, networked, digital reality that would define the 21st.